The first time Amaka touched the blind girl's face, the whole room stopped breathing. And for the first time in 8 years, Princess opened her eyes. But to understand how we got there, you've got to hear the whole story, because nothing about it was simple. 3 months earlier, 16-year-old Amaka was digging through a dumpster behind a fancy restaurant in Victoria Island, looking for anything edible, when something froze her mid-reach, a vision. A little girl in a white dress, sitting in total darkness, cloudy eyes streaming tears, whispering words Amaka didn't understand, except for one chilling sentence: "Help me see the light again." She tried to shake it off. These visions had been her curse since she was 12. The reason her stepmother had dragged her out of their village, screaming, "Witch," while the neighbors watched. Her father hadn't stopped it. He just looked away. For years on, Amaka was still living rough on the streets of Lagos, trying to ignore every flash her mind threw at her. But this one was different, sharper, like the girl was real. She was still thinking about her when a black Range Rover rolled up. The window slid down to reveal a man in an immaculate suit, eyes tired and red. "Are you hungry?" he asked. Rich men didn't talk to street kids unless it ended badly, so she stepped back. "I'm not doing anything wrong, sir. I'm not here to trouble you," he said, holding up a takeout bag. "We bought too much food." Her stomach growled loud enough to answer for her, but when she reached for it, the vision slammed back. The same little girl, the same eyes. And now she knew the man's face. "Sir, you have a daughter." He froze. "How did you?" "She can't see. She's been in darkness a long time. She misses you." This was Chief Peter Williams. His 8-year-old daughter, Princess, had been blind since birth. Every doctor, in Nigeria, London, America, had told him there was no hope. "Who are you?" he whispered. "My name's Amaka. And I think I'm supposed to help your daughter." Something in her eyes made him want to believe. "Get in the car." Minutes later, they pulled into a mansion that looked like a movie set. He warned her about his wife, Grace. She'd seen too many false hopes break Princess's heart, and he wasn't kidding. Grace took one look at Amaka and demanded to know why a street girl was in her house. She knew about Princess, Peter insisted. "Plenty of people know," Grace shot back. "She's here for money." "I don't want your money," Amaka said quietly. "I just want to help." Grace laughed without humor. "You can't help yourself out of poverty. How can you help my daughter?" Then a small voice from the stairs. "Daddy, is someone here?" Princess, moving carefully, hands sliding along the wall, she made her way down. "Are you here to make me see?" she asked Amaka. "I hope so." Princess told her she dreamed in colors. Purple was her favorite because it felt warm. Grace sent her back upstairs, but Amaka caught a vision of her running through a garden, laughing, chasing butterflies she could see. It was so vivid she gasped. Grace wasn't impressed. "One night," she told Peter. "Then she's gone." That night, Princess crept downstairs. "Tell me about flowers," she whispered. They talked for hours, about flying dreams, about stars like tiny holes in the sky letting heaven's light through. Amaka admitted she didn't know if she could help, but she believed God had put her here for a reason. The next morning, Grace warned her, "Don't make promises you can't keep." Amaka promised she wouldn't. Peter suggested they spend the day together. In Princess's room, pink walls, stuffed animals, Amaka felt a vision so strong it shook her. She saw herself touching Princess's eyes, light pouring in, and then chaos, people shouting "Witch," herself running through the streets. At lunch, Peter announced he'd called a doctor friend for an exam. That night, the vision replayed in her dreams, ending with Princess whispering, "Mommy, I can see your face." At the hospital the next day, Dr. Johnson, who'd treated Princess since she was a baby, frowned. "Something's different. The cloudiness isn't as thick." Tests showed her eyes were improving. Impossible, medically. Back home, news leaked. Cameras, reporters, protesters, half shouting miracle, half shouting witch. Grace admitted to Amaka in the kitchen, "I saw her eyes clear when you touched her." She told Amaka her own mother knew her, and knew she wasn't a witch, just a kind child her father had been forced to abandon. The next night, over Princess's favorite pepper soup, Peter said, "Tomorrow, we let Amaka try." Grace hesitated, but Princess was firm. "If there's even a small chance, I want to take it." The morning came with cameras rolling. Amaka knelt before Princess. "God," she prayed aloud, "if it's your will, Let her see the world you made. Her hands cupped over the little girl's eyes, warmth flooding through her fingers. I can see light, Princess gasped. 5 minutes later, Amaka lifted her hands. The cloudy film in Princess's eyes dissolved like morning mist. Mommy, she whispered, staring directly at Grace. You're more beautiful than I imagined. She turned to Peter. Your eyes are brown. Then she looked at Amaka. Kind eyes and a beautiful smile, just like I thought. Outside, reporters shouted. Online, the video exploded. Inside, Princess ran to the garden, marveling at every color, every butterfly. But by evening, the gates were pounded by protesters chanting witch. Grace's phone rang, her mother again. Your father is here in Lagos, she told Amaka. He's been looking for you for 4 years. The next day, a man stood at the gate, crying. Inside, he fell to his knees. My daughter, I'm so sorry. They embraced, years of pain melting away. Peter stepped forward. Sir, I'd like to adopt Amaka. Give her education, help her use her gift. Her father hesitated, but Amaka decided. I'll stay here, but I'll visit you every week. 6 months later, Princess was top of her class, planning to be a doctor. Amaka was in private school, learning to read and write, quietly helping other children see again. The world still argued, miracle or magic, but she'd stopped caring. One evening, in the garden watching butterflies, Princess asked, Do you regret coming here? Never, Amaka said. You didn't just give me sight, Princess smiled. You gave me a sister. The sky turned purple, her favorite color, as Amaka's father walked up the drive with flowers for both his daughters. And somewhere in the noise of the city beyond the gates, people were still debating what had happened in that living room. Was it a miracle or something else? You tell me, and tell me what you believe about how far you'd go if someone you loved was still living in the dark. That day, I thought the miracle in the Williams' living room was the peak of the story, but it turned out it was only the opening act to a storm far bigger than I could imagine. Just days after Princess regained her sight, the news spread everywhere. Not just Lagos, not just the country, but on evening broadcasts in the UK, the US, you name it. Every network used a different headline, but all of them showed the same clip. Amaka placing her hands on a little girl's eyes, and the impossible happening. Half the world called it a gift from God. The other half called it an elaborate scam. Old friends of the Williams family, the ones who still sent birthday presents to Princess knowing she couldn't see them, started acting strange. Some went quiet. Others sent long messages that sounded equal parts happy and suspicious. Outside the gate, the crowd had split in two, one side praying, the other throwing rocks, literally. Grace was never good at hiding her feelings. She stood behind the curtain, staring out, her grip on the teacup so tight her knuckles turned white. We can't live like this forever, she murmured. More to herself than to Peter. He just shook his head, eyes fixed on Amaka and Princess playing in the garden, like holding on to that one peaceful moment might somehow quiet the chaos outside. Then one morning, before the sun had even warmed the street, a convoy of black SUVs pulled up to the gate. Not reporters, not protesters, but people in suits, wearing badges from an organization Amaka had never heard of. They said they wanted to evaluate her abilities, to determine whether this was spiritual, medical, or something else. Their voices were polite, but their eyes were cold, glassy. Peter refused to let them in, but just hours later, the family received an official summons from the Ministry of Health. The letter was vague, but the message was clear. They wanted to take this story out of the hands of the media and put it under a microscope. The trip to Abuja was tense. Amaka sat between Peter and Grace, while Princess stayed home with her grandfather. The capital felt foreign, but the stairs felt familiar, like the day she'd been dragged out of her village. Every pair of eyes wanting to dissect her. The evaluation took place in a stark white room. Just a table, a few doctors, and some officials who didn't bother hiding their skepticism. They brought in 3 children with severe vision problems. Amaka's pulse raced when they told her to do what you did for Princess. The first child, a thin boy, felt warmth but saw no change. The second, a girl younger than Princess, began to cry, saying she saw a faint glow. The third, though, the energy surged so strong through Amaka's hands that they trembled. When she lifted them away, the boy blinked up at the overhead lights, stammering, I I can see. The room erupted in murmurs. Doctors whispered to officials. One man in a suit tapping his pen against the table, silent but staring at Amaka like he could bore a hole straight through her. Grace, watching from outside the glass, bit her lip until it bled. It could have been a turning point, but that night, a leaked video hit the internet. It showed Amaka healing the third boy, overlaid with a voice claiming, "This is disguised witchcraft." It spread even faster than the princess clip. The opposition swelled, louder, angrier, now waving banners about, protecting children from the possessed. Peter wanted to take Amaka and Princess out of Lagos for a while, but Amaka shook her head. "I can't keep running. If God gave me this gift, I have to use it, whether people believe me or not." Peter stayed silent for so long Grace thought he would argue, but finally he said, "Then we'll stand with you." The next day, the whole family appeared live on TV. Grace, for the first time, told the cameras she had seen it with her own eyes. Amaka was no witch, the miracle was real. She spoke calmly, but her gaze dared anyone to call her a liar. Things seemed to settle, until someone unexpected appeared at their gate, an older woman in traditional Anuga dress, holding an old, weathered letter. She introduced herself as Amaka's aunt. "This girl doesn't know the truth about her mother," she said. Amaka's eyes widened. "My mother is alive." The woman gave a faint, bittersweet smile. "Not only alive, but searching for you. But before you meet, you must be ready to hear the truth, a truth that may change everything you believe." Grace, Peter, even Princess fell silent. The wind swept through the garden just then, rustling the purple butterflies perched on the flowers. Amaka stood in that moment between two worlds, one with her new family, the other behind a door to the past, knowing that once she stepped through, there would be no going back. And that's the thing, what would you tell her? To take the step toward a miracle even bigger than the first, or to turn back before the storm ahead swallows her whole?